Okay, so we're here at Patrick's Equestrian Centre for the Conrad Schumacher demonstration. Now, how well do you know Conrad? Have you trained with him before?
I've only met Conrad once before, so which was many years ago. So no, really, we're pretty new to each other. We've had a little chat this morning, so
Great.
Hopefully we'll get along, understand each other.
You've trained in Germany before, haven't you? You go out there quite a lot. So
yeah.
How do you work that into your routine?
Well, with difficulty, really. I love training in Germany. I love being in Germany, and I was based there with Ulla Salzgeber for a couple of years, and have literally just returned 2 weeks ago from the Schulten-Balmers yard where I was training with Jan Bemmelmans. So yeah, I try and make it work in times that aren't busy. Or so busy. So October is a good time to go. It's after the dressage, the national championships, and also I train a lot of event riders, and their horses tend to be turned out at that time. They're resting. So
for you as a teacher, it's a good time for you to
It's a good time to go. I always come back though. I always when my horses have days off, I fly back and teach so I can keep my clients going.
Fabulous. So what is it with the German way of training? Why do you guys all go out there? What is the difference?
I think really it's just they have such a clear system of training the horses, and of course there's little differences in the way everybody does things, and there'll be differences in the way Conrad does things, but I think there's a sort of uniformity about it that gives you a good structure to work with when you come back, and also the attention to the detail as well, although obviously there are some very good trainers in England.
Sure. So Anna, how did this all start? How did you end up where you are today?
Well, I had a very circuitous route to becoming an international dressage rider. It was rather an unusual route. Really, I just loved the horses and ponies, and I was one of those pony mad kids who went to the local riding school and mucked out and spent all the time there that weekend and led in the lead rein class and did all of those things. And then I left school fairly early. I wasn't any bright spark academically, and I really worked at the riding school, and I rode a lot of the horses and ponies that weren't behaving themselves and doing terrible things to their, to the riding school clients, and so that became a little bit my job. And when I was old enough, it was suggested to me that I might do my BHS exams, which seemed to be the normal thing for people to do, the BHS AI and things like that. And so I started doing those exams, and I went to do my stage 3, I think it was, and the examiner, I passed, but the examiner at the end said, "Look, we think you're quite good, but you really don't know what you're doing, do you?" I was like, well, fair enough. And they suggested that I went to have some sort of proper lessons somewhere. Really, I'd kind of done it on my own, had a bit of help from the people who own the riding school and sort of various things, but a lot of it on my own. And so I went to start to have lessons with one of the examiners. Well, the lessons were quite expensive, and so I started getting all sorts of various jobs. I had a sandwich round, I worked in a bar, I did all sorts of things to pay for my lessons. And then one day she suggested that I go to Talent, the Talent School of Equitation, where Pammy Hutton and Adam Kemp at the time were training. And sort of in between times I was doing some rough riding at Goresbridge at the sales in Ireland, and all sorts of bits and bobs, riding Irish dealing horses, anything really. I was just doing my thing. Anyway, so I went along to Talent and was immediately, I remember going in and seeing Pammy riding in the indoor school, and I'd never seen anybody ride like that. I didn't know horses did those things really.
Yeah.
I'd not been brought up at all in that way. By then I was about 20, something like that. So I'd really missed out on the whole education that a lot of the kids have now, the pony riding and the juniors, and I hadn't done anything. And I rode a bit, and I thought, God, this is good. I like this. And got more jobs, kept going back for more lessons, and then Pammy, and I used to ride with Adam, and he always helped me, and he said, "Look, I think you should need to speak to Pammy one day." So I thought I was in trouble, done something wrong, didn't know what. And Adam and Pammy spoke to me, and they said, "Would I like to come to Talent?"
Wow.
And I said, "Well, I can't, I can't, because people, obviously pay to go to Talent." And I said, "I can't." And they said, "Well, you don't have to pay." I was like, really? so they were fantastic to me. And so I went to Talent. And that's really where I learnt about dressage riding. And I was useless over a fence. I just used to hold the mane all the time. It was like my fingers were glued to it. So it's by some sort of miracle I passed my stage 4. But I think the examiners were probably having a cup of tea when I did the cross country. Anyway, and so I spent time there, and that's from where I rode my first dressage tests. Were on Pammy's young horses that we backed and then took to shows. Although actually my very first dressage test was on a horse who bucked his owner off and broken both her arms.
Really?
So I rode that. Anyway, I didn't break my arm, so I guess it was a success. And
so
that's how it went on from there.
People that are, you know, you don't have to be 12 and start as a child. You know, you can. I mean, for me myself, I didn't start doing it until I was 30. You know, was always jumping and doing things. But it's quite addictive, the dressage, isn't it? With the right training,
absolutely.
People seem to carry on.
And I think that's what really inspired me, to be honest, was I hadn't been very successful at anything in my whole life, and to have these two people who really knew what they were doing say to me, well, we think you're quite good. I mean, I was absolutely gobsmacked, and it really made me really drive for it, you know, want to get better and better.
So from there, you've had phenomenal success with a number of horses, and you know, Olympics on the doorstep and all those kind of.
I was a non-travelling result.
Yeah, just nearly there. But what has been the highlight? I mean, obviously you've done a lot on the teams and that kind of thing. What has been the most fantastic thing you've done?
Well, actually, what I consider to be my greatest achievement is probably no one's ever heard of it. But obviously I was very proud of the European Championships. I was 10th in Turin in 2007, and on a horse I trained myself from 3-year-old. And I was the best of the British team, and it was this sort of fairy story. I was the only one who went through to the final, and that was a fantastic experience. I personally am most proud, and the only rosette I have in my house is an 8th rosette even, from a show called Balva, which is where they hold the German selection trials. And I had 70% at that show in the Grand Prix, and I was very, very proud of that. That was up against the German team, and I was an unknown rider from Great Britain, you know, and that I really felt, I will always, well, so far, I feel that is absolutely the best thing that we did. There's lots of nice things. It's nice to win a Grand Prix. It's nice to win an international Grand Prix. You know, it's nice to do all that riding around, you know, people waving flags and things, you know, but I guess just as a rider, that I feel that was but that's the one rosette I've ever kept.